The Mississippi Gulf Coast is an amazing place. Business is booming here, and life is good. People say Elvis used to hang out here, and it's true. So did Al Capone.
It's the legend of the Biloxi Mafia, and I don't know if that's true, but there is a place out at Cat Island called Smuggler's Cove where rum runners used to offload their bootleg alcohol into skiffs and smuggle it to shore.
You get to know the people here, and you're going to hear a lot of unbelievable stories. This place has a rich history. We call it the Secret Coast because of the 26 miles of beautiful white sand beaches and the picturesque islands that dot the horizon. You can visit those islands and they all have a story of their own. People who live all over the world quietly choose to make this place their home. I'm one of them, and I want to help build a community of entrepreneurs like me who are doing what they love. That's what the show's all about. So come on in and watch Sprout Central, the happiest show on TV. Hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of Sprout Central, the happiest show on TV. I'm Dennis Tynes, I'm your host, and we have a big show for you today. We have a guest on the show today that's going to explain everything you need to know about how to get the Paycheck Protection Loan and all the other really important things that are out there right now, and only right now, to save businesses or help your business survive. We're going to tell you all about that, but first, let's talk about what we did last week, because last week's show will go down in history. Last week we had Six String Andrew on the show, the child guitar project. I call him a child, but he's a 15-year-old young man now who's grown up in the music business ever since he could hold a guitar, and he premiered his first original song on Sprout Central last week. If you missed that episode, you can find it on the WXVO YouTube and on the new YouTube channel we're about to start. If you're watching it on the YouTube, make sure to hit the like button, everybody. Hit like and maybe even leave us a comment. Six String Andrew, ! But check it out and listen to his new song. It's a great new song, and he's an outstanding guitar player. Okay, today on the show, we have a really important guest. We had to move things around so we could have Catherine Minerich on the show today, who is an expert on grants. If you want to know what grants are available, what you can do, what you need to do to get the Paycheck Protection Loan, the Economic Disaster Impact Loan, or any of these things that are available through the recent legislation of the declared pandemic, call your friends, call your neighbors, and tell them to watch this show. We're also going to answer the age-old question, are there free grants for businesses to start their business? So stick around and watch this episode of Sprout Central, and we'll be right back after a couple of messages.
The best thing we did at the Y was that lobby. I love seeing the seniors sit around drinking coffee, talking. You know, we have a lot of books. You've seen our library in there, reading books. There's one group that brings snacks once a week, and they just sit around and socialize. And of course, we do trips for our seniors too.
Okay, we're back, and as always, we have Mr. 100% Connor Snyder here as our co-host.
It's great to be here, Dennis. As always.
Great to have you as always, Connor. You know, we had a lot of excitement over the past week. We did the podcast, and a lot of things been going on. We're going to talk about some really interesting stuff today. But I got some bad news for you, man. We you know, Mr. Big Time, Andy Snyder, was going to be our guest on the show today. Yeah. You know who he is?
Absolutely. That's my dad.
That's your dad. Your dad has over 500 franchise opportunities for people and we have loans, and we were going to help people start businesses like you wouldn't believe. But we decided to move that to the season finale for two reasons. One, that's a big opportunity. It's a big show. And Absolutely. We want to leave the people at home kind of hanging up. How many businesses did they end up starting because of that during the off season?
Yeah.
Season finale's coming up in a couple of weeks. So today we were having an expert on to help us with some things instead.
Well, I had a few questions. I know we talked about the Paycheck Protection loans last week.
Right.
So what's the difference between the Paycheck Protection Loan and a shutter venue grant?
Oh, so I don't know. That's when we have Catherine Minerich on the show today, because she does know. But you're right. There's like certain venues out there, they you know, certain businesses are considered to be shuttered venues and eligible for a grant. So I don't know the difference between all of that, but she does, and she's going to be on the show later. You know, you remember Mitchell Gruich, right?
Absolutely. From Red Radio Production. I love that show.
Yeah, me too. I started watching that show all the time. Oh, there he is. You know, I found that picture on the Facebook, and I thought he was just a big Star Trek fan, and that guy was the star of Star Trek. But that's Mitchell wearing a Star Trek shirt. So I put it on there.
Yeah.
Okay. So he introduced us to Catherine Minerich, who owns a company that writes grants for people and helps. She told me she wanted to be on the show because she wanted to help people, and that's what we do on Sprout Central. We help people.
Absolutely.
And he also introduced us to the guests for next week. You know, we're inspiring people to become podcasters. Well, he knows a really big time podcasting star. That guy. It's like kind of, look at that. His name's Phil Cron, who's going to be on our guest next week. So we're going to have a big time podcasting star on the show next week. And hopefully we're going to inspire some podcasters like we did you.
Absolutely. Not only is it a way to put your knowledge out there and to help people, it can also be a good income stream, as we have talked about in the past. There's definitely opportunities to monetize your knowledge in that way and help people doing that as well.
Right. Just by putting yourself out there. I was really proud of the class you did and the PowerPoint. We're going to cover that in just a little bit. You know, we're going to show some things from it and talk about the whole Russians hacking into us and all that fun stuff. But you did a great job on the PowerPoint. So, you know, I know the Russians hacked us and we kind of have to redo the class again. But are we going to do that? Are we going to have a new Options 101 Learn to Trade Options class pretty soon?
Absolutely. I've actually scheduled it already for February 11th. That'll be a Thursday, and we'll do it at 6 Central Standard Time, which is 7 Eastern Time.
Okay, so anywhere in the country, if you're watching the show, if you're on the YouTube watching us, make sure to hit like. But the big thing is, if you want to learn to trade options next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central, you have to write into the show or call us, and we'll send you a link to a free options trading class. So,
yeah,
Connor's an expert.
I would rather send the invites out individually than post it, because we learned last week that
yeah, if you post, everybody, and pay attention to this, folks, if you post a Zoom link out there, the Russians are going to get on there and they're going to mess up your Zoom call.
Absolutely.
So you don't want to post them out publicly, but do some private invites on that. And that's just a little security tip that we have based on our own experience, being hacked by the Russians, which was, you know, it'll probably make a good blooper reel one day once
absolutely.
we have the whole Sprout Central TV thing going big time.
Yeah, and it was a good rehearsal, especially, you know, for the first time. There was a lot of good information in there that I wish a lot more people could access. So we'll probably do this one a few more times over, just so everyone can get that knowledge. And this time, we'll change the security preferences so that we'll be able to record it and upload it to YouTube.
Okay, that's a great thing. And then we can put it on the Sprout Central, you know, official Sprout Central TV,
yes,
the Facebook page, and let people go there. And really, you know, you have to pay for a lot of these option trading classes. People charge big money for this, and this is free, so you really want to take advantage of it, right?
Absolutely. There's you always see those ads saying, I made $1,000 this week on YouTube or whatever, posing with my new Lamborghini, but they charge so much that they're probably making more money off of you than the advice they're giving you.
And you get hooked in for a monthly bill and those types of things, and when you have a down month, it just becomes problematic. So, you know, we're all about helping people and helping create income streams, and we should take a little break and talk about some of the ideas that we've come up with for, you know, this season maybe, because, you know, we've given people a lot of advice. Maybe we should have a little review, since this is episode 11 and we're only doing the 2 more. So let's do that. We'll take a break, all right? We'll come back and we'll talk about the trading class and then kind of review some of the things that we've done this season. So stick around. We'll be right back after this.
Let's put our heads together on a great staycation. Berry Creek Cabins in nearby Bogalusa, Louisiana is your wilderness staycation headquarters. Cozy cabin lodging for 4 to 12 people with modern amenities, kitchens, relaxing porches, fishing, and a 2,700 square foot party deck pavilion. Call 985-730-4395 or berrycreekcabins.com. Berry Creek Cabins is family staycation headquarters.
All right, welcome back to Sprout Central. We're back with Connor, and Connor, we're gonna start doing the double dap because this is such an important show. I told you we have Catherine Minerich on the show.
Absolutely.
Remember, and I know a lot about the paycheck protection stuff and all that, but this person is an expert she's really a couple things. She's helping me, understand more about it so that I can help my clients. But she's going to go directly to the people, and we're going to have some. We're going to help the clients
because
with an expert.
I had a lot of people write in about specific questions about the paycheck protection, and I know a general idea, and we have a general idea of it, but we can't help with that specific knowledge.
Right.
Like just going into all the details, and she's going to be able to help with that a lot.
Right. She's absolutely brilliant. So we're looking forward to that in a few minutes. But first, we've talked about a lot of things this season, and
especially income streams.
Income streams is really important. If you have a job and well, I wish I made more money, then another thing you can do is come up with a way to add an income stream that maybe even passive income.
Absolutely. During the Zoom, I went through the different sectors of how people make money. And if you're working for a job and you're getting paid hourly, well, you're trading your time for money. You don't want to do that. If you want to become an investor and multiply your money and have your money work for you, then you, of course, need to become an investor.
Oh, that was the pyramid chart from the class, right?
That was the pyramid
Let's
chart.
have a look at that, Clarence. So we put the pyramid chart up, and it kind of shows. There you go. Look at us all on the class. That was right before the Russians got in, right?
Yeah. Well, that was actually right after.
After. Okay.
So at your bottom, you have your low yield, low risk, the treasury securities, your checking and savings accounts, which gets
low
like
earnings.
1% or less. Life insurance, cash
Is the job
values.
on there? Is there a job?
It's not. This is for the just the different type of investments. So on the purple there, the next level up, you'll have your high grade municipal bonds, your corporate bonds, and your money market accounts. Those
Still
are
low yield.
Absolutely. Still low yield, low risk though, as you see from the arrows. But as you move up the pyramid and you go into your balanced mutual funds, then you start getting into more risk. But there's a lot more upside to that as well. You have your securities and your high-grade preferred stock. And then once we go up one more, you get into your growth mutual funds and your high-grade common stock, which is if you want to go buy an Apple stock, like the actual stock, you would do that. Well,
or some of these mutual funds, is that kind of like an ETF where you have a bunch of, there are a bunch of stocks associated with the fund?
Absolutely. So you basically,
it's a sector-based thing?
You basically buy in the one stock and it represents a multitude of companies with that. So as you move up, you start getting into your real estate investment properties and your limited partnerships. Well, the only problem with that is the capital it requires. It requires a lot of capital, and even if you work your way down, they all require a lot of capital to yield great returns because you're only talking about 1 to 5% on everything below the top green line. So when we look at puts and calls, though, you can use a small amount of money. You can start from 200, 400, and I never go over 1,000 really. And then you have a lot of upside with that, with the options, which you can see there as puts and calls. And as you can see, it is on par with the real estate investment properties because of the percentage that you can get, the yield that comes from it. And then, of course, you go up, you get into other things that require a lot of capital, your gold and collectibles.
Futures.
Yes.
Okay. So, that's great information. We're going to run out of time on our segment again, Connor. We always have so much to talk about. But, so, adding an income stream, and we're going to have Mr. Big Time, Andy Snyder, on the show, on the season finale, February. It's going to air February 9th. And there we're going to talk about all of the many I'm going to get one of these franchises. He told me about one yesterday. I'm doing it. So
Absolutely.
we're going to talk about, if you want to start a business, there's even passive income franchises that you can start. You can call Andy, and then you can call Sprout. We can make the loan for you.
Absolutely. You can get the franchise and then your SBA loan to pay for your franchise, and you really don't come out of pocket too much on that.
But we've also been talking this season a lot about, what about those people that think, well, I can't do any of that.
Well, why not?
I know.
The opportunity's there for everyone, and that's why we have this show, is to show people that the opportunities are there.
So some people might have to change their mindset to feel like they can successfully do this.
Absolutely.
And change it from I can't to I can. And we talked about, hey, if you want to change your mindset, change some of your daily habits, your physical habits, like get up and give it a stretch, touch your toes. The more times you touch your toes, the longer you live, according to medical research.
Absolutely. And
what else do we do? We drink the warm lemon water in the mornings and things like that.
Don't check your phone. And those habits, every habit that you have puts you in the position that you are in now. So if you want to be in a better position, create better habits.
Create the better habits, kind of change your mindset to where you can. And
Absolutely.
watch every episode of Sprout Central. We're going to put it on the YouTube, and we're going to make a big announcement about a YouTube channel we're buying. We kind of foreshadowed that before. And hit the like button on the YouTube for us.
Absolutely.
We like the likes.
Yes.
We like the likes, folks. So like us on YouTube. Okay, so we're going to wrap up this segment, and we're going to be right back with Katherine Minerich right after, a couple of words from our sponsors. So stick around and call your friends and neighbors and tell them we're going to answer the question, is there free money for business, in just a minute.
The best thing we did at the Y was that lobby. I love seeing the seniors sit around drinking coffee, talking. We have a lot of books. You've seen our library in there, reading books. There's one group that brings snacks once a week, and they just sit around and socialize. And of course, we do trips for our seniors too.
All right, we're back, and we're going to get right to it with our special guest, Catherine Minerich. Catherine, welcome to Sprout Central. We do the
Hey, what's
Sprout
going on?
Central DAP to welcome guests. So it's a tradition. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the show, and thank you to Mitchell Gruich for introducing us.
Love Mitchell.
That Red Radio Productions is really interesting. If you like the live music and you want to get to know some of the local bands, have you watched that?
Yeah, it's wonderful. The things that he does, and then his other podcasts, it just really highlights local artists, and I think that's incredible.
Right.
And I don't know where he finds the time to do all that he does, but he does it.
It's amazing. He's very dynamic. He's helping us with some other things too. In fact, he introduced us. We should give him a producer credit. I don't know if he has an IMDb page or not, but okay. So the big thing, Sprout, the community development entity, right? People call me all the time. They go, "Oh, you have a community development entity. So you've got grants for all the businesses and everything. Can we get I want to start a business. What kind of grants are available? What kind of grants are available to start a business?"
There generally are just not grants available for startups or for private sector in general. It's very, very rare to find a grant that's at all available for things like that. It's taxpayer money, it's nonprofit status, and it's supposed to go to other public entities. So it's a common misconception that, hey, free money, it's here, you're ready to go, I'll give you $50,000, and just, no.
That's not a thing, folks.
Not a thing.
It's not a thing. But
Not a thing.
there are, especially right now, there are a lot of opportunities. And we really need to tell the folks at home what those are, especially our small business owners.
Sure.
So Connor was asking me earlier in the show, I think you were in the audience for this, where there's like a shuttered venue thing happening. What is that?
Sure. Okay. So part of the new round of stimulus funding that has set aside for small businesses, there is the PPP loan, and then there's also the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. And that grant, it's important that if they want to get the grant, then they need to not apply for the PPP. It's one or the other. You can't have both.
Okay.
And so this is available for your bars that has live music, your concert places, theaters, performing arts centers.
Hold on. So restaurants and bars, if they have, there's some places in the downtown areas that have they're restaurants, but they always have live music to get people to come there. Is that something that they'd be qualified for the shuttered venue?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Restaurant owners, good.
This is one thing that is important to know. So for the shuttered venue grant, it's up to 45% of your gross revenue from the 2019 tax, fiscal year, but no more than $10 million. So that's the cap. And so if you think you can get more from PPP, which is the 2.5 months of payroll, then you can from 45% of your gross, then go with the PPP. I don't know who would have those kind of margins there, but that's why I recommend that people wait for the shuttered venue operating grant. It's not released yet.
Right.
And the SBA, it's a new thing for them, and usually it takes about 60 days for everything to go through the federal process. So that has to be in the Federal Register, and then it has to have, all the lawyers get involved to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. And once they do open that up, though, the initial round is going to be for any venue that has less than 50 employees.
Less than 50.
They're starting off with really, really small. And so they have the first $2 billion with a B. They have the first $2 billion set aside for small venues with the less than 50 employees. And it's a tiered approach after that. And again, they're still working out the details right now, but I'm estimating that it'll be somewhere in March.
Okay, so when it comes out, how do we know? Where do we go? Where do we go to find that?
Well, you can go to my website, and I'll have a detailed blog page. So MPS Grants, thank you.
MPS Grants.
Also, SBA.gov will have information. But again, that's sort of in bureaucratic speak.
I was going to say, I looked on the SBA.gov site. I do that a lot, and then I looked at your website too before. So I think maybe the SBA site, it didn't really make it clear to me when I did mine back in the very beginning of exactly what I was supposed to be doing and how to do it.
Right.
It merited a little less bureaucratic speak and some explanation. So your website's going to have a blog or some information about where to go, what to do,
and how to be able to successfully, submit these grants, and then what you need to do once you get the money, because you're going to have to fill out a form in the end saying, I did what I said I was going to do.
Right.
And so just like the PPP, it's important to always have enough information so that you can do your loan forgiveness, which is also a grant application for that. But it's just important to document all your expenses, normal business practice.
Right.
So.
Okay. So we're going to talk some more about that after we take a quick break. And we'll tell the folks at home all about the shuttered venue grant right after a couple of messages from our sponsor.
Let's put our heads together on a great staycation. Berry Creek Cabins in nearby Bogalusa, Louisiana is your wilderness staycation headquarters. Cozy cabin lodging for 4 to 12 people with modern amenities, kitchens, relaxing porches, fishing, and a 2,700 square foot party deck pavilion. Call 985-730-4395 or berrycreekcabins.com. Berry Creek Cabins is family staycation headquarters.
Welcome back. We're still talking to Katherine Minerich, and we're talking about grants for businesses right now that are actually available. This grant, the shuttered venue grant, Katherine, that's just a grant. That is free money, right?
Well, free in the sense that you don't have to pay it back, but again, it's so important to keep your documentation and do what you say you're going to do with it. That is the number one. That's the number one thing to do with any grant.
How you utilize the funds.
Yes, so you have to use it in the way that they say that you can.
Right.
And in your application process, you're going to say, I would like to have X amount of dollars to do A, B, and C. And so when they write you the check, all you have to do is A, B, and C. You'd be surprised how many times it can get a little off kilter there, but don't do that. Just do what you say you're going to do,
Right.
and you'll
Once
be fine.
you get the money in your pocket, it's easy to go, well, I want to do this and that. Well, you got to stick with what you said. You got to spend the money on what you're supposed to spend the money on. That's the same thing with the, the Paycheck Protection Loan, which is forgivable, right?
Right, absolutely. It can be up to 100% forgivable if you spent the money the way you're supposed to.
Okay.
And the outline is payroll, obviously, it's in the name. So payroll for your employees. Also, you can use it for, I think it's mortgage, not your actual mortgage, but the interest on the mortgage or rent. You can use it for operating expenses. And so, if you have a venue, your electric bill, your things that you need to normally operate your business.
Pay the band, can you pay, if you're on a restaurant, can you get the Paycheck Protection bill? Well, we're doing the shuttered venue for those guys though, right?
Right, so that would be one of the reasons why I would go for shuttered venue. If you're one of these great restaurants that we have here on the coast, and you usually have live music, and that's a certain percentage of your revenue, then 45% of your gross receipts for 2019 is going to be significantly higher than 2.5 months of payroll.
So if for the restaurants and anyone that hires, brings in musical acts or any type of entertainment, probably the best thing to do is this shuttered venue grant. All the other businesses are still eligible for the new Paycheck Protection loan that's out there, right?
Sure.
So all of your professionals, your architects, these types of businesses are eligible for the Paycheck Protection.
Absolutely, and if your business didn't get an original PPP, so anytime before December 28th of 2020, if you did not get that one, you are eligible to do a first draw, and you're eligible to do that right now, and that's opened up. And I know that Sprout does these PPP
right,
loan
we wanted to call
processing,
Sprout
right?
if they need a Paycheck Protection loan. We're helping people with that.
And also, if you had an original round, then there is a second round that you are eligible for now too, and you're processing both of those. So
Yes.
pretty much, as long as you have less than 500 employees, apply. It's also available for nonprofits. And a lot of times nonprofits thought that they were ineligible for the first round, and then they changed the regulation and they changed the rules. So now nonprofit organizations, which are small corporations, are eligible for this as well.
So all of the nonprofits, if you're watching this or you know somebody that has a nonprofit, call us. We can help you with that. And I didn't know that nonprofits were eligible.
Indeed.
Before we lose all of our time here, I want to try to help some of these gig workers. You were talking to me about this earlier, that your Uber drivers, and how does it work for those guys? Maybe they don't have an LLC, or they just file it all on their personal taxes.
Well, if you have a Schedule C that you filed, so sole proprietors, gig workers, they generally have their federal tax ID number. You're still registered with the state of Mississippi just as a sole proprietor. So as long as you legally have all your stuff in order, then absolutely apply for a PPP, because again, it's 2.5 months of your payroll, and if you are your only payroll, you're still eligible for it. And once you get this, then make sure you pay yourself monthly as you normally would out of those proceeds, keep track of it, and then apply for the forgiveness. And it may not be much, but it's something. And what's really great too is for gig workers is that most people that are gig workers that are going to apply for this are going to be below the $150,000 threshold.
Yep.
And so if you have loans below that, then the application for forgiveness is 1 page.
One page.
One
okay,
page.
And how easy is it to get? So if you're a gig worker and you do your taxes on TurboTax, you have no worries, right? You just go on TurboTax, you download what you need,
you got your Schedule C's in there,
and apply. And you can call Sprout. We have a portal you can log on to, and it's all done online now.
Yep.
Through the magic of the internet.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yep, it's fantastic. Okay, So that's it for this edition of Sprout Central. We're going to wrap it up. But I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and helping the folks at home that need help with the paycheck protection. Next week, we're going to have a friend of yours and a friend of our community, Mr. Podcast Star. We're going to have Phil Cron from Cron Rock on the show. That's not him. It's the other one. And after, okay, you're there. We're going to have Phil Cron on the show. And after that, we're going to have Andy Snyder, and we're going to wrap up our season. So watch Sprout Central, and we'll see you next week.